The Battle of Agrigentum, the first pitched battle of the First Punic War, was fought between the Roman Republic and Carthage. Although this battle didn't mark the beginning of the 23-year war, it stood as a pivotal moment for both factions in shaping the geopolitical landscape. The engagement showcased the military prowess and strategic capabilities of both Rome and Carthage, setting the tone for the conflicts and alliances that would unfold over the next 2 decades. Additionally, the outcome of this battle influenced the strategies and alliances of neighboring states, further amplifying its significance in the broader Mediterranean political arena. Sicily, located in the central Mediterranean Sea, south of the Italian peninsula, was home to various kingdoms during the Iron Age. These kingdoms were mainly the Carthage and the Greek city-states for over more than a century, not to say that they were friendly towards one another, but they grew stronger together throughout the years, as both shared a heavy pressure from the Roman Republic that was located in the Italian peninsula. Carthage had already been trying to control Sicily for centuries. Syracuse, the wealthiest and most powerful of the Greek colonies in Sicily, had always been Carthage's main opposition. Taking control of Messana allowed Carthage to decrease Syracuse's power, and since Carthage already controlled North Africa, parts of Spain, Sardinia, and some small islands in the Mediterranean, control of Messana could lead to the conquest of Sicily. While the Romans had been steadily expanding their territory for over a century, their army had never fought a battle outside of the Italian peninsula. Carthage's control of an invasion route into Italy threatened Rome's newly conquered territory in southern Italy as well as Rome itself. In 264 BC, the First Punic War began, and the Roman Senate voted to send an expedition to Sicily under the command, one of them consuls for that year. Whether the Centuriate Assembly of Rome formally declared war is disputed. The Roman consul has maintained that it was highly unlikely, and that, although the Romans knew war with Syracuse was almost a certainty, they believed their military would deter or swiftly defeat any opposition in Sicily. The Romans intended to send 2 legions to Sicily in 262 BC, and were probably willing to negotiate peace with Carthage. Since 264 BC, when they had declared war on Carthage, there had not been much serious fighting between the two, except for a small battle in the Straits of Messana. But eventually, the Romans took Messana in the same year and defeated the Syracusan and Carthaginian armies around the town. The Carthaginians made conciliatory gestures at the start of the war, but by 262 BC, they started to increase their forces in Sicily. Once the Carthaginians started increasing their forces on the island, the Romans sent consuls there. The consuls were the generals of the Roman army, and with them came several legions. The Carthaginians hired Ligurian, Celtic, and Spanish mercenaries to encourage their enemies in Sicily to attack the Romans on the half of the island which the Romans controlled. After the loss of Messana and the arrival of numerous Carthaginian reinforcements, Agrigentum became the main base of operations for the Carthaginian military on the island. The Carthaginians began sending forces to Sardinia using sea power, but most of their army was in Sicily. It seemed that they planned to use the island as a base for attacks on Italy. The Roman consuls, Lucius Postumius Megellus and Quintus Mamilius Vitellius, focused their forces on Agrigentum. The consuls commanded a combined force of 40,000 men. Hannibal Gisco, the commander of Agrigentum and the son of Gisco, gathered many of the people who lived in the area surrounding the city behind the city walls, swelling the population of the city to about 50,000. His garrison was relatively small. Hannibal refused to fight outside the city walls, which the Romans might have seen as a sign of weakness. The Romans then set up their camp about a mile from the city and harvested the crops from the area, to which Hannibal took the opportunity to attack the Romans while they were harvesting the crops in the fields. Outnumbered and unarmed, the Romans fled the area. The picket guarding their camp was the Romans' only fortification, and although they lost many men, they were able to defeat another Carthaginian contingent that was attempting to penetrate the camp. This first skirmish made Hannibal realize that he could not afford to lose any more men. He became increasingly reluctant to attack again, and the Romans realized they had underestimated their enemy. The Romans began digging a system of ditches and small forts surrounding the city to prevent the inhabitants from preparing for the siege. The consuls divided their forces, with one force to the south of the city and the other force stationed to the west. There was a stalemate for 5 months until November 262 BC when supplies began to run out in Agrigentum. Hannibal became increasingly concerned over the limited resources, so he sent urgent messages to Carthage appealing for help. Carthage sent a relief force from Africa commanded by Hanno, whom historians believe to have been the son of Hannibal. There are varying accounts as to the details of Hanno's army, having stated that there were about 40,000 infantry, 3,750 cavalry, and 40 elephants. Hanno first advanced and concentrated his troops at Heraclea Minoa, about 40 kilometers west of Agrigentum. Hanno managed to capture the Roman supply base at Herbaesos, causing shortages in supplies in the Roman camp, which led to disease and privation. This seizure of the Roman supplies also cut off the Roman lines of communication. Hanno then took a position on Taurus, a hill about a mile from the Romans' camp, where further skirmishes took place for 2 months, causing the siege to last from 6 to 7 months. With Hanno camped outside their own camp, the Roman supply lines from Syracuse were no longer available. With their own army at risk of starvation, the consuls chose to offer battle. This time it was Hanno's turn to refuse, probably with the intention of defeating the Romans by hunger. Meanwhile, the situation inside Agrigentum after more than 6 months of siege was close to desperate. Hannibal, still in the city, was sending a constant flow of messages and fire signals, stressing the city's food shortages and desertion of the enemy, which caused Hanno to fight. The Romans, who were also close to starvation, accepted the fight, officially starting the first pitched battle of the First Punic War. It is believed that the Carthaginian army consisted of 2 lines. The first consisted of infantry, the second was infantry and elephants. The cavalry has traditionally occupied the flanks. The Romans, in their custom, formed 3 lines, triplex aces. It is possible that the Punic chieftain's intention was to exhaust and weaken the impetus of the legionary infantry. However, the prolonged struggle of the infantry of both sides brought an advantage to the Romans, who defeated and forced the First Punic line to retreat. The retreat of the first throw led to panic in the second Carthaginian line, which resulted in the final defeat of the entire army. Following this first pitched land battle fought of the First Punic War, the Romans occupied Agrigentum and sold the whole population into slavery. Though acts of brutality like this were commonplace, it proved counterproductive. It hardened the attitude of many other towns which might otherwise have proven friendly to Rome. The taking of Agrigentum was a significant victory for the Romans, although they came close to disaster on multiple occasions. Because Hannibal and his garrison managed to escape relatively unharmed, there was no Roman triumph for the 2 consuls, and it detracted from the success of the battle. After 261 BC, Rome controlled most of Sicily and secured the grain harvest for its own use. This victory in the first large-scale campaign fought outside Italy gave the Romans extra confidence to pursue overseas interests. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Stay curious, stay knowledgeable,